I think at this point, I'm actually going to have to make a playlist of this whole entire MrBeast saga, because like I've stated multiple times, is that every single week since this Chris Advertiser situation came out, is that MrBeast and the whole entire crew, his whole entire team, more allegations and more things keep coming out about him, and it just seemingly keeps on getting worse. And Dogpack, who is the guy who originally released that video calling out MrBeast on not just faking his videos, but also on faking lotteries and promoting gambling towards children as well, he has now released a follow-up video to that, where in this video, he has interviewed another former MrBeast employee who was actually in the MrBeast crew for a decent amount of time, worked behind the scenes on MrBeast, and was actually in front of the camera as well. And they talked, I think this video went for like over 40 minutes, and I watched the whole entire thing. I actually watched it on my stream as well. And there's not a lot of times, like whenever I make videos, I usually go off my dome, off of like my thoughts. I have actually had to written dot points down to try and summarize this whole entire interview and give my opinions on this, because I just want to say is that there is a lot to get through with this situation. That's how bad all of this stuff is. So first of all, Dogpack, or I'm going to call him Dawson because that's his real name and it just flows off the tongue a little bit better. But Dawson first asks Jake about faking videos in the past, and Jake said that there was a ton of videos that he's been involved in where they had to, you know, spice them up a little bit. But the one that they did fake the most is the one about crushing a friend's car. Apparently that was fake, where Jake, like, he was one of the friends that had gotten his car crushed. But as a matter of fact, Jake was in on the thing the whole entire time. Like, he even, you know, called up his mum, and he texted his mum beforehand telling her that, like, oh, just pretend you don't know that, you know, this whole thing's going on, and that, you know, she could like make it out like a genuine reaction to everything while they were filming. But like in reality, Jake knew that his car was getting crushed and that he was going to have to buy another car, a new car as well. But like I stated in my last video about this whole entire situation is that when it comes to MrBeast faking videos, it doesn't really bother me. And I can understand if it would bother you. That's understandable, but if I put it on a scale of 1 to 10 of how bad I think it is for faking videos, I would put it at a 3. Like, yeah, it's not morally right, I don't think, to a certain extent, but at the same time, I'm like, I mean, it's not good, but I'm a bit desensitized. Like, I've been on the internet, and I've seen reality TV shows for years, and they have been faked for years. So the fact that MrBeast is faking videos doesn't surprise me, not one bit. But now we get into the hot and heavy stuff, the actual stuff that I think really matters. And the first thing that Jake states is about the pay at MrBeast. And he says that the pay at MrBeast is terrible. Like, absolutely horrible, especially for someone who is a writer. And while Jake was, like, you know, working for MrBeast as a writer, he decided that he wanted to get a pay rise. And that's absolutely fine. Especially if you feel legally and you compare yourself to other jobs and you're not getting paid as much as you would respectfully think that you do. And you know you're getting underpaid. You deserve a pay rise. And there was also another writer in the MrBeast team as well, who he was actually older than Jake and had a kid. And I'm just saying, Jake put this out, but apparently he was a person of color as well. The guy was black. Now, you can do with that information whatever you want, but he was getting paid less than Jake. So this guy was older and had a son, but was getting paid less. And this guy wanted to stay on the MrBeast team really bad. He didn't want to like cause any problems, where at this point Jake kind of wanted to leave. But so Jake was just like, no, you know what? I'm going to go to like upper management and say like, I want a pay rise or fire me. And you know what? The guy who, you know, was getting paid even less than Jake actually stuck by Jake. Even though he didn't want to leave, they were thinking that like, oh, they're going to give us a pay rise 100%. Like, so they went to them and said like, hey, we want a pay rise. And what happened? They were actually let go. They were given severance pay, a severance check, which if you don't know is like, you know, whenever you get fired or let go, a company legally has to pay like the rest of your like salary for that month or week or whatever the hell like it may be. And they were both eventually let go, especially for the guy. Like Jake said that he was fine with it because he really didn't want to be there anyways. But considering that the other guy did, I mean, even Jake said that he's still friends with him to this day. But man, like how scummy is that? And Jake also mentions about MrBeast doing charity and doing all his philanthropy stuff. Now, in the past, I have come out and I have defended MrBeast when it comes to people taking jabs at him, when it comes to his philanthropy stuff. Because to me, I'm like, man, this is great that MrBeast is earning so much money and he's willing to give back like to communities. And then, you know, I feel like it's fine if he wants to film it, because to me, the way that I see it all is that it's from the benefit of his heart. He just wants to film it to help make more money so he can keep on donating. But as a matter of fact, Jimmy only does it, or MrBeast only does it for his personal gain. And the reason why, and the way that Jake mentions it in the video, is that MrBeast does these charities so that people see him in a good light. Like, it's more or less that he doesn't really care that he's donating this money, that he's helping people. All he cares is about his actual image. And MrBeast thinks that, like, hey, if I do this philanthropy work, donate this money, build people houses, gift them stuff, then how are people going to hate on me? Because I did all this charity work, which, I mean, to be honest, that's a very smart way to go about things, but not very a morally good thing. But now is probably what is the biggest part about this whole entire interview. And to me, one of the most horrible things as well is that there was a video that MrBeast put out where it was like, every single day that you spend in prison, we give you $10,000. And it was like, it was supposed to be a luxury prison. You know, it was like a padded wall kind of room. There was a bed, there was like a pool table, TV, and all that kind of stuff. And it seemed nice. And if you watch the original video, you will notice that the guy who's in there isn't Jake. But before they filmed with that guy, Jake was actually the one who was originally meant to do this video. And he accepted this money because they were just going to make him stay in there for 30 days. And in the end, he'd make like $300,000. And to Jake, he said that he was broke at the time. So he was like, you know what? I really need the money. And even though he had like finished he wasn't writing for them anymore, he'd still come back here and there to like, you know, do challenges. And Jake was like, you know what? I really need the money. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. But Jake stated that the actual living environment that was within that so-called like prison, that padded wall, it really was a prison, was horrible. Apparently, all there was when it came to the shower, it was only cold water. The hot tub itself that was within the room was actually not plugged in. And after a couple days, like, you know, that murky hot water would begin to smell. But the ice cream machine that was in there, like if it was left on, it would just make an extremely loud, like, brrr kind of noise. And if he turned it off, after a while, it just begun to stink because, you know, it's cold, disgusting ice cream that's starting to melt away and can eventually start to mold. So it's either the ice cream machine smells like crap, or you have to listen to this sound that's just constantly going out throughout the whole 24 hours that you are within there. To me, what is most unethical thing that was within there was the fact that they would not turn the lights off. Because supposedly to the MrBeast team, the whole entire production crew, the guy who was like running it, the producer, said that they needed to leave the lights on for the whole entire time lapse, for the whole time lapse, like, you know, cuts that they needed for the video. They did not turn the lights off whatsoever. And were like causing Jake to have sleep deprivation. That's right. This man had sleep deprivation, which is a form of torture. And they even mention it in the interview as well, is that sleep deprivation is a war crime. You are actively causing, like committing a war crime in your video because you won't turn off the lights for this guy to go to sleep. Like, yeah, you're giving him 10 grand every single day that he stays in there, but you're causing him to have sleep deprivation. I don't know if any of you have ever stayed up for longer than 24 hours, but I have before. And just for 24 hours is horrible. You start to hallucinate, you get dizzy, you get wheezy. It's bad. It is extremely bad. Not only that as well is that like there was a whiteboard within the room. And the one thing that you can tell with MrBeast is that like that makes him like really bad and seem a little bit more scummy as well, is that Jake was actually like, you know, to write, he actually wrote his YouTube channel and tried to plug himself in that whiteboard, but the producer actually came in and like would get rid of it straight away. And Jake explained like throughout the interview is that MrBeast doesn't actually want other people around him and within his crew, like maybe not like, you know, Carl Jacobs and Chandler, but in terms of people that work behind the scenes or even like, you know, a smaller creator like Jake himself, he doesn't want these people to get big and famous and have their own platform because MrBeast wants them to stay with him. He wants to keep that power dynamic over these people. MrBeast doesn't want these people to leave the crew in any way possible, and wants to do everything he can to try and keep these people in there, basically having this whole entire power dynamic over these people. And another way that this power dynamic kicked in during this challenge was that MrBeast actually came into the room during one of the days, I think it was like the 11th day, and actually woke up Jake at 2 in the morning. He woke him up and said, hey, this is the money He gave him 2 briefcases, said, this is the money that you've earned so far. For extra money, we want you to run a marathon on the treadmill within here. Now, a marathon itself is like 40 Ks. It's like 42 kilometers. That is insane. And this guy, Jake, he's not like no runner or anything like that. Now, I myself, I'm a decent amount of an athlete. I mean, when I was younger, I used to be a lot fitter than I am now. Now I'm more of just like a gym junkie because I've been cutting. I do go on runs. And I challenged myself and did a 14-kilometer run. And that's nowhere near a full marathon. And that took me an hour and a half for someone who was relatively fit. This guy was made to run a marathon. Now, you could obviously say that, Donnie, he was probably said that he could say no to all this. But once again, it's that power dynamic that MrBeast has, where Jake says that MrBeast makes it pressure. He puts the pressure on you, makes you feel like you can't say no to him. That whenever he offers you another challenge or another thing, MrBeast, like, with the pressure and the power dynamic that he has, he kind of forces you into doing these situations, which, I mean, you know what? I don't blame Jake whatsoever. And he did say yes to this. But unfortunately, during him running the marathon, he had to like give up and had to end the whole entire challenge altogether. I mean, rightfully so. And perhaps Jake was stating that his feet were blistering and he was in an immense amount of pain. Now, like I said, I ran a 14-kilometer and I could tell you that after 14 Ks, I was dying. I was dying. Like, you run a marathon, you have to actively train for that. Like, a marathon is no joke. You can't just throw something like that onto a random person. No, you cannot. And after all this happened, you would think that MrBeast would have been worried about Jake. But no, MrBeast didn't give a damn whatsoever. As a matter of fact, Jake said that all MrBeast cared about, and he actually almost said the word about MrBeast being sued. As a matter of fact, when it came to, that they had to end the challenge early, it was like after the 11th day, and MrBeast gave Jake the money. Jake felt like they weren't giving him the money because of the challenge, but more of just like hey, at least you got this money now. More of like a hush kind of money to say like, hey, we tried to make you do some stuff that's obviously probably unethical and not great to push someone to do. So maybe if you keep your mouth shut, since you have all this money, like you can pay your student loans off. So don't speak about anything. Dawson also comes in and cuts off from the interview during this part of the video. And he actually puts up on the screen some text messages that he had with Jake back in 2021 when this whole entire situation was going down. And Jake was stating about how he felt and how terrible he felt after this, how sore his body was. I mean, rightfully so. And during this as well is that Dawson also points out about this document that's given to like MrBeast employees when they start. And one of the things about how to succeed at MrBeast is knowing, like, one of the things is that no doesn't actually mean no, which to me is probably one of the most awful messages that you can give to people, especially with, the whole entire movement of like, no means no when it comes to women, when like, someone says to you no, to actually be like, all right, that's fine. But when it comes to, the MrBeast crew, they are encouraged that if someone says no to something like, oh, no, you can't film here, that you have to pressure those people into doing things, which to me is horrible. You have to keep on people's back to say like, hey, no, we really want to do this. It's like, oh, you can't film here. You sure about that? Really? So you're just going to like throw all ethics out the window altogether? Not just like throwing those kind of ethics out, but also as well, Dawson mentioned that during one of the videos where MrBeast was filming out on a lake, this like yacht video where they like were destroying boats and stuff like that, is that at the end of the video, MrBeast claims that they did, as a matter of fact, clean up their mess, when in reality, they didn't. And Dawson even reached out to the park themselves, and the park was actually relatively nice about this and be like, hey, no, you know what, it's fine, the exposure was good, but didn't deny that they didn't leave a mess, because they did still leave a mess. And you know what, leaving a little bit of a mess, it's still bad. But the fact that MrBeast said, oh, we cleaned up everything, but you, as a matter of fact, didn't. So to me, MrBeast ethics are just all outside the door at this point in time. Near the end of the interview as well, is that Dawson asks Jake about any type of, inappropriate messages when it came to like the whole entire Chris Ava Tyson situation. And Jake states that, he actually wouldn't be surprised if MrBeast was involved with these messages, involved in some kind of inappropriate behavior towards minors, which to me is extremely eye-opening. And the reason why that Jake says that he can see this happening is because apparently Jake said that he's heard stuff. No, he even states in an interview that there's no like real evidence of this, but he has heard that, like, through the grapevine, when it comes to MrBeast employees, that there is like a lot of like sexual misconduct that has gone down within the company as well, and also that an employee has actually sexually assaulted a minor, and it's actually been swept under the rug. They were let go, but it's kind of been swept under the rug. And also, to me, I would state would have to be the worst thing is that one of the people who worked at MrBeast, and there's actually in some of the videos, and he's seen like wearing a mask. And the reason why he's always wearing a mask and his actual face is never shown is because supposedly this guy is a known he's on a sex offender registry. So while I was editing, I actually found further evidence about him being a sex offender. So people on the Twitter have actually found his police report and also a document as well, stating of his offenses. But not only that, he, a matter of fact, is the brother-in-law of Jake the Viking. So yeah, I found this information out while I was editing this video and was flicking through Twitter real quick. So back to the video. That's right, MrBeast has a sex offender on his, a predator on his team. And supposedly the victims are anywhere between the ages of 1 and 11 years old. That's right. Oh my God. Like, holy Jesus. Oh my Lord. And also at the start of the video, and I wanted to mention this at the end, like I wanted to mention the whole entire interview first. But at the start of the video, Dawson mentions that he's going to be making a part 3 to exposing MrBeast, which, I mean, I'm looking forward to. But apparently, it's where the CEO of MrBeast, because remember, MrBeast no longer is just a person. This is a brand. This is a company. And the guy who runs the MrBeast has actually hid a lot of sexual misconduct within the company. And Dawson, after his initial video of all this stuff, received hundreds of different messages from former MrBeast employees, and has actually confirmed that they have previously worked at MrBeast as well. I'm actually speechless with all this, and that's like summarizes the whole entire video. I don't give it full of my opinions, but also is that Jake himself actually released his own video on his own channel about like why he left MrBeast, and you know, it's more or less he just kind of elaborates on everything. And the two things that he does say in this video as well is that he compares MrBeast to his dad. And the reason why he does that is because he hates his dad. The reason why he hates his dad is because his dad was actually caught for being a pedophile. And before he was caught for being a pedophile, is that apparently everyone in the town where Jake lived when he was younger saw his dad as such a kind and nice person, even though Jake knew what would go behind closed doors. And that, you know, whenever Jake would tell someone, they're like, no, this can't be possible. This isn't true. Your dad's such a nice person. But when all this stuff came out about his dad and he got caught, you know, because he was a swimming instructor, got caught, you know, doing inappropriate things with one of his students, everyone was like, holy crap, this nice person was such a horrible person after all. No one saw it coming. Says that that's the kind of thing with MrBeast where you don't see it coming because you see him on face value, where he's just this nice person up front to everyone, but behind closed doors, he's actually like such a terrible person. And the way he says it with MrBeast is that the culture of MrBeast is terrible, and it's all about kissing the ring. It's all about him. It's all about the views. It's nothing about the passion. All MrBeast cares about is being the best YouTuber to ever exist. And he more or less doesn't care of the way that people are treated, the way people are paid. All he cares about is getting like a decent amount of money and being considered the best YouTuber on the platform. And that's it. And to me, that is horrible. Like that whole entire interview, like the first video that Dawson put up, I was like, damn, MrBeast, this is horrible. This second video is way worse. From not paying well to like the way that you treat your employees, the way that Jake was treated during this challenge as well, the way that MrBeast didn't even give a damn about him, this apparent sexual misconduct that might be coming out soon in Dawson's third video, and then like, you know, an employee who works at MrBeast who has actually touched minors in the past. This to me is just like, I'm bamboozled by all this. It's terrible. Like, At first, I was just like, man, when in the first video, I'm like, you know what? MrBeast is going to come back from this. I feel like people won't care. But I don't know if this just keeps getting worse. MrBeast, I don't think can actually come back from all this. He can't. He can't. And at the moment, he hasn't said anything. And I mentioned this as well when I was streaming and I was initially watching the videos, that people were like, why hasn't MrBeast come out and said anything? The reason why MrBeast hasn't come out and said anything is because MrBeast probably thinks that he's so big, so famous, that if he doesn't say anything, eventually it will just like breeze over and no one will remember it. Everyone will forget about it. No one will care anymore. Especially because his audience is so young. Like MrBeast's audience are kids. They probably don't know about this stuff that's going on. They're probably clueless. Like if they ever search up MrBeast on YouTube, they're just searching him up to go watch his newest video. They're not on Twitter. They're not on like Facebook. They're not on YouTube actively like looking for videos or getting recommended videos of, hey, MrBeast got called out today. No, I seriously doubt that they are like going ahead and watching these videos, hearing about this information. Like all they care about is what MrBeast is putting out. So if MrBeast doesn't release anything or mention this at all, they're just going to go ahead and not know about it and just ignore it and think it's not true because kids are naive. They're stupid. They don't know. They're just going to keep on watching his videos, keep on liking his videos. That's all MrBeast is going to do. And you want to know one thing that I find really funny as well? Chucky didn't respond this time. You remember last time? That guy Chucky, the person who works for MrBeast, made a tweet like almost immediately after the initial video by Dogpack came out. It's funny how Chucky this time hasn't said anything. No tweet, no comments, no nothing. I mean, isn't that just a little bit skeptical? But this whole entire situation is terrible. It's bad. It's extremely bad. Like I said, is that like I don't actually know if MrBeast come back from this. Something needs to happen. His company needs to get investigated one way or another, and more stuff needs to be released about him because there seems that there is a lot more. Just remember, when you hear bad stuff, majority of the time, there is a lot worse that has gone down or is going down. There's a lot more that we don't know about. Without a doubt, if things are this bad, just imagine about all the things that we don't know and all the things that have been swept under the rug that not even Dawson has heard about or been told about. Just remember that as well. But that is going to be it from me, guys. I would definitely like to hear what you have to think about all of this situation down below. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Peace out.